So welcome to the Building a Legacy podcast. I'm joined today with John Ince Jr., our owner, Rasheeda Martin, the Director of Sales at Explore York, and Matt Marshall, who's our General Manager for the Sports Complex. So welcome, everybody. Rasheeda, thank you for being here today.
Thank you.
I think we'll just start with you, and if you want to talk a little bit about yourself, what your role is, and what Explore York does.
Well, thanks so much for having me. I appreciate it, guys. So my name is Rasheeda Martin. I'm the Director of Sales at Explore York. Explore York is a 501c3. We are the official tourism agency for York County.
Great. And what do you do there specifically?
So I work specifically with an initiative called Sport York. Sport York initiative was created because we saw a need for sports in York County, and we also saw a great need that sports globally was just growing. So I help promote and produce the sport market. Sports, actually, tourism produces about $1 billion in York County alone.
Wow, it's huge. So with that need comes a solution. Matt, do you want to talk about a potential solution to that?
Yeah, and just to piggyback on what Rasheeda was saying, I mean, you look at some of the statistics out there and the youth sports industry, I think right now most people say it's at least a $40 billion industry with projections of it going to a $70 billion industry by 2030. So it's popular now and it shows no signs of slowing down. So, I think that's where the sports complex comes in and, just the need to really bring a state-of-the-art facility that's going to have basically every possible offering, no matter what your talent level is, your experience level, your knowledge level, or what your end goal is. We're going to have something for everybody at the complex where, if it's just participating and having fun and learning the fundamentals of it, or if you want to be a D1 athlete, we're going to have the coaching, the training, the tools there for you to have the ability to maximize your potential. So I think bringing that to the area is huge, just because you start to see the disparity of different things in sports with the popularity. That also kind of brings a gap sometimes where you have all these travel sports, and sometimes kids and families can't travel across the country every other weekend. To have something in the backyard is going to be huge for our community members, but then at the same time to have the sports tourism component where we're going to be able to bring that economic impact to the community as well is twofold. So it's great to have the perks on both ends of that.
Rasheeda, can you talk about some of the events that have been brought to York and kind of the impact to the local economy?
Yeah, so I would say our bread and butter is volleyball and basketball. We do a ton of business with volleyball and basketball anywhere from January to pretty much about June. The volleyball and basketball parents bring in about 2.5 people when they travel. So that's usually, mom, dad, and sibling. But usually they also bring mom, dad, sibling, and grandma and grandpa. So we've seen, great impact with that in our community. So like I said, volleyball and basketball are bread and butter, but we also bring in fencing. USA fencing, which is very unique to us. Also, we have dabbled in this year some adult sports. We brought in a Grand Fondo, which is an international sporting event that took place in September of this year. And we also brought in international softball. So we're seeing a lot of impact, not only with a lot of local and but also global events.
That's exciting. And how do you see the sports complex to continue to help draw these events? Like what kind of impact are we going to be able to help make on this?
So I'm so excited about the sports complex. When I heard about, the potential of this complex, it just increased my love for York County. We already do a great job with sports and, securing medium to high level events. But this sports complex will really put us on a different level. We will be able to go, after those NCAA big events, those Division I events to Division III events, as well as we will be able to do a lot more with NGBs, which is a national governing body. Those events are like USA volleyball, USA basketball. a lot of those high caliber events, they look for state-of-the-art facilities, and that's what, this sports complex is going to bring to York. So I am extremely excited. It just puts us completely on a different level, and it puts us in a better playing field with our partners in different areas of the state as well as different areas of the country.
So it puts York on the map.
Absolutely.
Back on the map.
Absolutely.
And can you talk about the economic impact, maybe some specific examples of what drawing a lot of people to events like that will do to the local community? So
like I was saying, Sport York brings in $25 million of economic impact each year. I foresee that just doubling with the, availability of the complex. Right now, we do have really good venues, but being able to double our capacity to host these events. I'll give you an example. Most of our volleyball events right now use about 24 courts at our current venue. With the addition of the new sports complex, then we can be able to host, probably use about, I would say, 30 to 40 courts. So we will be able to now take those events that are great, but they will become citywide events. So York County will, be in a different space where we'll be able to have these massive citywide events and countywide events that kind of shut down our area for the weekend, and that will be very exciting.
So almost like the hot rods when they come to town.
Kind of like the street rides, absolutely.
So Rasheeda was talking a little bit, Matt, about the expanded courts, having more courts, and do you want to talk a little bit about the amenities we're going to have at the sports complex? How big is it going to be? What are we going to offer?
Sure. We'll be basically somewhere between 250 to 300,000 square feet. So it's a large facility. If you look around the country, it's going to be state of the art. Rasheeda touched on basketball and volleyball. That's probably going to be some of the bread and butter of our complex as well. With our hard court space, we'll have just under 70,000 square feet of space. So when we're talking about courts, whether it's basketball, volleyball, wrestling tournaments, anything that you can basically play on a hard court, you're going to have a ton of space for it. If you look into any kind of area that is that large, that's huge. So the capability to host those regional East Coast type tournaments are going to be there for us. Outside of the courts, we'll also have a dome that will be fully turfed, that will have the opportunity that will be more so community-based. That won't necessarily lend itself to some of the tournaments. It will certainly have use in some of those capacities, but the hard courts will definitely be the sports tourism side. But I think the one phrase that typically comes up when people hear about the facility or we're talking through them is one-stop shop. It's kind of cliche, but you'll have the sports components where we'll have the fields, we'll have the courts, but then we'll also have state-of-the-art fitness equipment and gyms as well. So for more of your commercial type gym, where it's adults, kids, anybody within the community can utilize that. We'll also have a sports performance area that's a little bit more specific to athletes or even adults if they have higher aspirations and maybe playing in some of those tournaments that Rasheeda talked about. On the adult end, we'll have a healthcare partnership where we're going to have a great ability to collaborate with them, to have athletic trainers on site at all those different sporting events, down to any kind of ailment that somebody has that's coming into your facility. You're going to have the opportunity to have immediate care, and then also continuity of care. So if you have a surgery and you're going to rehab with a healthcare provider, and then you can talk to one of our athletic trainers, sports performance trainers, and they can have that direct line of communication. So you're not just kind of, hey, your 3 months is up, like we're going to throw you back out in the world, and you might not really be ready for it. So to have that assurance as a client, I know I would certainly prefer that when I've gone through some of those situations in my life. I think it's certainly going to help on that end. To come back to some of the different offerings within the facility, when we have that many people there, food and beverage is going to be a big component to it. So we'll have a variety of offerings there to where you have more almost that concession style when you do have 100 plus teams in there and parents and families and kids that need something quick between games. But we'll also have your healthy options, your smoothie or coffee bars for your daily members as well. And then we'll have, different meeting spaces and opportunities for that as well, whether somebody wants to host a conference, a clinic, Just want to have some open working space. If you're a parent and your kid's coming to practice for 2 hours and you live 20 minutes away and you don't want to drive home, you don't want to drive back, you have the opportunity to get some work done. You can go work out. You can watch them play. That certainly lends itself to the whole family having the opportunity to be together and stay productive. And we know time is of the essence to everybody. So to be able to be productive, while our kids practicing or playing is a big part to us as well.
What didn't you think of? I mean, everything's covered there.
I hope so, because I feel like I probably left quite a bit out too. But we've definitely thought of plenty. There's no doubt about that, and I'm sure there's still more to it, and we'll continue to evolve and work through it. But we're looking to have basically every possible need met.
Yeah, it's great. And Rasheeda, how does this complement current organizations? We don't want to take business or take sports away from people who are already doing a really great job. So how do we help?
Absolutely. Actually, I want to just reiterate on something that Matt said about the sports complex being all in one space. So gone are the days where the sport parent wants to travel to 15 different fields to see their, player play, or 15 different gyms to see, their player play. Now the tradition is that they want everything under one roof. And that's why having this complex is great for us, because like you said, it is a one-stop shop. Everything will be under one roof, and we won't have to push people to go other places to get things that they need. But to answer your question about how this enhances what we already do well, we already have a great venue that we support here in York, and it's been great to us. It has very open availability, but again, the complex is not going to take anything away from our current offerings. It's only going to enhance what we have. It's going to give us the capability to be bigger. Right now, we can't grow. Right now, a lot of our tournaments have hit the max of capacity. The 24 courts, that's pretty much the max of capacity that most of, our basketball and some of the volleyball tournaments can do. So this gives, our event organizers a way to stay here in New York where they're comfortable and be able to expand, our offerings. So my vision is that, when an event is here in York, they stay in York. But when the new sports complex opens, they will continue to add courts over at the new complex. So keep what they have here, and then year by year, your facility is the facility that they grow in, not necessarily take away one and give to the other, but, stay where you are and grow in another location.
And just to jump in on that, I think we recognize that there's a ton of people doing great work in a lot of these different spaces that will relate to the sports complex. So, the opportunity to collaborate and partner and just enhance and expand the offerings that are currently there, just as Rasheeda was saying, is definitely important to us. I think outside of, the actual events themselves, when you talk about having kind of that captured audience for a weekend, I always think back to stories that I either read about or have heard about around the country where, there's restaurants that are calling the sports complexes in their area and saying, hey, we need your tournament schedule because we need a staff for it. We ran out of food, or, whatever it may be. There was an example of a gas station running out of gas. So, that's just kind of the examples of what kind of economic impact that can drive to the smaller businesses, the hotels, the restaurants in the area. And then, outside of that, a lot of great work is being done downtown. You think about somebody being in a gym all day for volleyball or basketball. Well, hey, if it's a nice summer night, let's go to a Revs game and get outside and watch that for a little bit. Or how can we go downtown and enjoy a First Friday and just really get to see everything that York has to offer, and, really just leverage, that opportunity that we have.
A lot of the parents, of course, they want state-of-the-art facilities, but they're also looking for experience. A lot of parents dedicate their vacation and travel time to traveling with their kids. So they want to be able to maximize that and make the most out of our destination while they're here.
Yeah, playcations, right? That's the new thing now.
So Rasheeda, I do have one last question for you is, how do you, in your opinion, how does this positively impact the individual? So the individual athlete in terms of health, wellness, athletics, not just the organization or the family, but the individual.
So it helps the individual in a lot of ways. Of course, sports is important. Sports is important for everyone with your mental health, with your physical health. I was a Division I athlete, and sports is a very important part of my life, as well as it translates into my career as well. I'm very competitive.
What did you play?
Division I lacrosse.
Okay.
And that my kids also play sports as well. So, sports has really translated to everything that I've done. And it's kind of helped me become the person that I am. Sports also has a way of unifying people. That's what I really love about it. It just brings, people of different economic and socioeconomic backgrounds together under one roof, and it unifies us. So, sports has so many ways of making, so many social and economic impacts. And hopefully that will be felt in our community with this sport complex.
So I think it's cool that Matt, you have a sports background from athletic director, coach, football, quarterback, whatever. You've done it all. So you've been working on this a long time. Probably, I don't know, months.
Oh, yes.
It's going to open construction a year probably soon.
Yep.
And then partnering with people like Rasheeda at Explore York is really going to help us build this building the way it should be to help complement the community, which is great.
Yeah, for sure. Rasheeda and Explore York, they have already been fabulous partners to us, and I know that's just going to continue. Their collaboration and their joint effort in making this successful is going to be huge for us. Just with their knowledge, their networking, they have a ton of great experience in this space, and they're just great people to work with. So really excited to continue to do work with them. Just to piggyback on some of the things that Rasheeda was just talking about, I could probably spend, I don't know how much time we have on this podcast reiterating that stuff, but that to me is extremely important. Just the life lessons that sports bring. I always say it's one of the best vehicles to teach life lessons, and that's something that we're gonna make sure that stays at the forefront. So we'll have those character development sessions, leadership sessions. A lot of local coaches that are already doing a great job. How can we partner with them and local clubs and bring them in? And again, to use the phrase enhance and expand, what they're already doing and give them some more resources to really make an impact, to the community and the young athletes. I heard on a podcast recently that club sports have become the new Keeping Up with the Joneses, right? It's not the vacation house or the new boat. That's what everybody wants to do to give their kid the experience growing up. And while that can be good on one hand, it also is a challenge that it starts to create this barrier to entry because, it becomes expensive. Lacrosse is a great example in itself. When you're purchasing the equipment, just to get into it, it can be difficult for a child to even start playing the sport. And just as Rasheeda said, we all at this table recognize what sports have done for us and the impact it's made on our lives. So we want to be able to give that opportunity to everybody. So, if there's opportunities to subsidize some different costs with working with different partners in the community, again, we want to make sure that if it's somebody that just wants to come out, learn a little bit, participate, be active, we want to have a place for them. At the same time, if you want to be a Division I athlete, you want to play in the pros, we're going to have those resources for you as well. But I think it's important to really utilize all of the great resources that we have, whether it's people, whether it's organizations, and you work already to really help give us that experience.
Yeah, Sport York actually has started an initiative called the Legacy Program. So I saw a need for a lot of our tournament directors and event organizers to give back to our community. I wanted to develop a program where the community felt like, people aren't coming in here and just taking what we have and taking our resources and not giving back. So we at Sport York developed a legacy program, and what that looks like is everyone that receives grant funding from us, that's a sporting event, has to give back to our local organization in some way. And I'll give you an example. So the international softball event that we had recently, we hosted it in September. They came and they gave 50 backpacks with school supplies back to Ferguson Elementary. So that's a way that, bringing in that sporting group will also impact our local community. And we will continue to do that with the event organizers that host events at your complex as well. But those are, just a little example of what type of legacy, sports can leave in our community.
It's great stuff. So we wouldn't be sitting here talking about this if somebody sitting beside me didn't have a vision. So Johnny, you saw a piece of land, you negotiated it for years, I'm sure, talk about just how to buy the land and then had the vision. So why don't you talk about that and how this thing, started in your mind and what your vision is for it?
Yeah, I think it's actually about 8 years. I was pushing back and forth with them trying to get this property. And I always envisioned something right there off 83, and it's a large parcel. And as a kid, you and I actually played tennis there and would climb over the fence, run the track. Yep. Yeah, so we would kick field goals. We would play down there when it was actually Central High School in progress, but we would go down there and play. So we kind of grew up there on the field in the area. The big driver from my standpoint, and my kids are all playing, travel sports. They're all in different sports, and we're traveling kind of every weekend. But a lot of the kids that can't afford to do that, West York, East York, York City, North York, that can't get to those locations, or it's just too expensive, they don't have a ride. I really was thinking about those kids and how they can benefit from something that they can, ride a bike to or get community transit. And we've talked a lot about how can we get like a bus stop, and be able to get a transit to be able to get kids there, to be able to come and just, get out of their house, and get into an environment where they feel like they can breathe and exercise and let themselves go. And I look forward every weekend. There's two players that are playing now that are on TV pretty often. It's Jaheim White, was with York High, and he's with West Virginia now, and Bo Burbola, which is with Penn State. And watching them, come up through and see them what they're doing now, and just looking at how this would even have enhanced their play and got them even better than they're at now. It'll give them the ability to give back and come back to York and feel like they have a facility that they can now, train kids and show kids that, hey, look, I can do it, you can do it. And it's really inspirational. So the core of what I had envisioned like 6 or 7, 8 years ago is just seeing those kids be able to come there and, be in one local area and not have to travel so far and be able to offer this, like Matt had said, to, the local level more than just abroad. We're going to have teams come in from all around the country, and Rasheeda has said about, the international, games and events. And my heart was really, and I'm all for that too. My heart from the beginning was more all the local kids and how can we get local interaction? How can we get the kids into the facility to be able to use that and then set them up for success and the next level if they become a D1, D2, D3, whatever they want to be after high school. We can help them, for that. And it not even from an athletic standpoint or from a mental standpoint or a financial career standpoint. We just want to be a beacon there for the community and for the kids, really.
I love that. Just to jump in there too, I think, with our ability to help facilitate some of those things you mentioned, Jaheim and Bo and some of the athletes that have come from this area, how do we bring them back and have recruiting conversations or a panel with some of those kids that are looking to come to or to go to the next level? What questions do they have that, Jaheim or Bo might not have had the answers to when they were in 9th, 10th, 11th grade? How can they come back and share their experiences and maybe help the path of some of these younger kids now, just partnering with the YAIA. I know we've had a lot of discussions with them, our local athletic organization, to really, whether it's officials training, whether it's recruiting seminars, whether it's leadership or coaches councils, to really collaborate again, to just be that spot where everyone can kind of be a central hub to share that information.
So I don't know, Johnny, or if you or Matt want to take this, but we should talk a little bit about timing, next steps, funding, some of those things. So,
yeah, I think Matt can hit on that. Well, the last thing I wanted to kind of jump off of what you were talking about, how it impacts kind of the other community. There's other organizations in the community, softball, baseball, lacrosse, field hockey, just on and on, and they're all doing really, really well with the space they have. And what we're really hoping is that those spaces can continue growing their own spaces, but they'll be able to come to this facility and be able to, host their own tournaments maybe inside the facility, that we can help them coordinate. So I think, I'm really excited for how we can grow everybody else's business and then in return grow the community. but I don't want to steal Matt's thunder.
No, go ahead. You certainly can.
No, from a timing standpoint.
So from a timing standpoint, always a fun questions to answer. Obviously, this is it's a huge lift. There's a ton of different details that go into this, and we've made a ton of progress already with all of the permits, approvals already being through. So at this point, we're looking to break ground in, I would say, late spring, early summer, and then we're projecting about a 14-month build time. Feel free to jump in if any of that feels differently, but so we'd be looking, potentially, spring, summer 2025 is probably of an opening. From a funding standpoint, obviously this is a big lift, and we're very fortunate. I say it all the time that Johnny and Jeff have had this vision to bring this to the county and to do it, mostly through private funds. That's pretty special when we're talking about the impact that it's going to make for decades and to come. So we are still looking for people that may be interested to invest or partner within the facility. And again, I think, a lot of those great opportunities are people that are passionate about the community, about the youth, and just continuing to leave that legacy that we're talking about today. So those are certainly opportunities that we have. If there's any businesses, I know I've talked to a ton of different, people that are interested in bringing their business inside the facility and being a tenant because of the traffic that's going to be driven there. If their business aligns with what we're going to have within the sports complex. So those are conversations that I'm very interested to have when we talk about different events, all of those things. There's a ton of people with great ideas out there, so feel free to share those. We're all ears and certainly willing to listen and partner, with anybody that makes sense.
That's my most asked question. No matter what we do, when you open a sports facility, like every single person in your county is asking me when we're going to open it up. And I want it to be tomorrow, but, I'm not a very patient person. And through the process of development, in the last, 7 to 10 years of developing properties, it's really, it's a patient game, and I'm not patient. So the faster we can get out there and get it going, is good for us. But I do understand that we want it to be thought through, and we've taken our time now. We have a really, really good, strong partner that's going to bring a lot to this as well. So we're excited to unveil it and get it moving.
Well, while you're building, I'm piggybacking and helping you sell. So I have been really selling and supporting this initiative, I would say probably for the past 2 years. Every conference that I go to, every event organizer that I meet with, they know that this is coming and they're very excited.
That's great. Yeah, I'm just excited too. I envision it, and I listen to TD Jakes all the time, and he always says that the most painful process to someone who has a vision is time and waiting. And like that process of waiting is very difficult. So I can see the facility open, and I can see everyone there enjoying it and what it does for the community, but then you just have to be patient.
My wife would probably agree with that pain. She's probably sick of me talking about it in the planning, just throwing stuff off the wall at her. So, I can see how that pain would come in there.
We'll wrap it up. So thanks for joining the Building a Legacy podcast. Rasheeda, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you.
I'm sure we'll bring you back again as we get closer to opening. And thank you, Matt and Johnny.